Hi. G'day, nice to meet you. My name's
Nice to meet
Ethan.
you.
What's your name?
I'm Charlie.
Charlie. Great. Okay, so what we're doing here today is we're talking about veganism. The sign says, "Give me your best argument for being vegan." So, for not being vegan? So, what's your best argument for not being vegan?
So I understand like the premise of being vegan is wanting to reduce animal suffering. The issue for me though is I don't see why you have to draw the line at completely outruling all animal products, especially in cases where consuming those animal products doesn't necessarily reduce or impact animal suffering in any way.
Could you give me an example of that?
So I'd say an example would be like eggs from chickens that you've raised, that you're taking care of. Or maybe another example with meat would be kangaroo meat in Australia is all harvested from wild animals, so there's no like factory farming involved. And with kangaroos specifically, like kangaroo populations fluctuate naturally because of like droughts and seasonal conditions. And so my argument would be that consuming meats like that are sort of naturally harvested, there's no real ethical impact because those animals are going to die anyway from drought and natural causes. And so if we're sort of utilizing this natural resource that would like these animals would otherwise be like either starving to death or dying from disease, and so if we're killing them through more humane means potentially with like a shot to the head, I'd say that's reducing animal suffering. Yeah, that's kind of my main reason. Like I understand being vegan, it's just for me there are still ways to ethically consume animal products.
Right. So yeah, I would agree. I actually don't have any problem with what you eat. Right. Veganism to me is extending the same rights to animals that we give to a human of the same sentience. So if you wanted to like eat meat out of a dumpster and call yourself vegan, I'd actually have no problem with that.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But what does raise a red flag to me is like whether you'd apply that same logic to a human. So if we came across humans living in the wild, would you think it's okay to shoot them in the head and eat them because otherwise they might just die of disease or starvation?
No, I don't think so. But I do think humans are a special case because we are humans, and okay, there are like I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah. Let's go a little bit further into that, right?
Okay.
So, presumably you're not vegan, right?
Yeah, I do know quite a few vegans. Like my girlfriend is vegan.
Oh yeah. Okay. Great to hear. And so, unfortunately, it is the case that you support the industrial agriculture of animals, correct?
I'm against factory farming, like on the large scale. I do support sort of more smaller scale meat consumption, and I'd still say meat consumption is ethical if it's sourced from those sort of smaller scale instances where like the animals are being taken care of.
Right. So all I mean by like support in this instance is financially, right?
Yeah.
So you financially support the farming of animals whenever you purchase meat, dairy, or eggs, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So I wonder, like, would you support the same thing, the same practices being done to humans?
No. I wouldn't. Because I believe animals can be property, and humans cannot, you know.
So what I'd ask, it's quite a specific question, is what's true of the humans? Sorry, what's true of the animal that, if true of a human, would justify doing the same thing to that human?
Well, I think humans have like a free will and an ability to conceptualize themselves outside of their own body and in their sort of social relations to people. So because humans have sort of this social being that animals don't, which is sort of selfish to humans, I guess. But I think that's okay from my perspective.
So if we put it on the human, if we put it in the terms I used, it would be that something like animals don't have like a social connection to humans. Is that correct?
I'd say animals have a dependency on humans, or farmed animals do have a dependency on humans. Like, yeah, in a way that I feel like we have a responsibility to other humans because they have a capacity for like self-consciousness. Yeah.
So I guess I would just ask, like, if there was a human that was like dependent on other humans, would it be okay to, farm them and kill them? Because that seems to be the conclusion of what you're saying, unless I've misunderstood you.
No. No, I don't think it's okay. But so what are you trying to get to with like this point?
So the reason I'm asking is because if it's okay to, farm animals, it's not okay to farm humans. What I want to know is if there's a difference between the two, such that one is justified and the other isn't, right? Mm-hmm. But when I asked you what that difference was, you gave like social dependency, and then so all I need to do is apply that to the human case. And if it's not okay to do it to a human, then you've contradicted yourself.
Right. Yeah. Look, the reason I don't think it's okay to farm humans is because they have a capacity for like freedom and agency in the world that I don't think animals have. Like humans have an ability to like make future plans and determine their own life in a way that I don't think animals do. Animals are more the way I define sort of the difference between an animal and a social human being is that the animal exists from like their own like centered. They're focused on their own immediate needs and desires, whereas the human is sort of, we exist outside of ourselves in that we have like these social obligations, but yeah, I think farming of animals it's very easy for that to be unethical, and I think we sort of live in a system where the ways that animals end up being farmed is more often than not unethical. But the way I understand veganism is the consumption of animal products. And so going back to sort of my original argument, I think that that's still okay in some instances. And even, especially instances like for vegetarians where that life of the animal is not really threatened in any way. And for like a chicken, for example, if a chicken is like ranging in your backyard or in a pasture or whatever, and it's fulfilling all of its own desires, and the chickens just lay eggs naturally every day, like there's no reason why we can't consume eggs. It's not harming the chicken in any way. It's just how the chicken exists as a chicken.
Well, we might need to talk a little bit about like how these products are actually produced, right? Like, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in the egg industry, and this is true if it's organic, if it's, pasture raised, free range, whatnot, every single male chick is thrown into an industrial blender on their first day of life.
That's evil.
Yeah.
That's evil. We should ban that.
It's evil, but it's common practice even in the highest welfare instances.
Yeah. So, but I don't see why we can't just outlaw that practice and continue consuming eggs.
I think it should be outlawed. And once again, I don't actually have a problem with the consumption itself. What I have a problem with is the rights violations that go into the consumption.
Then I think we agree, honestly, because.
But I would say we don't agree, because I think that if we think this is wrong, we should not financially support it. However, you do financially support it, correct?
Yeah, I'm a hypocrite.
And then it seems like
ideally, the point I'm arguing for is admittedly not one I follow myself, and that's my own flaw, personal flaw, I guess.
But then if I go back to what you said previously, that, because I asked you what's true of an animal that, if true of a human, would justify treating the human the same way. It seems like the answer you gave me was that animals can't plan ahead. They don't seem to have the same cognition as a human.
If a human's only if there was a hypothetical species of human that their only interest was digging around in the dirt and eating insects and grass, and they had the cognitive capacities of a chicken, then maybe it's okay to farm them.
Really?
Yeah, I would say that,
okay.
honestly.
Do you know that there are humans that are sufficiently mentally enfeebled?
I know.
So are you okay with killing and eating those humans?
I mean, from the point I'm arguing, I'd say there's no logical reason against that. I mean, we'd obviously feel bad about it because they look like humans, but yeah, I don't know. We definitely have a cognitive bias towards things that look and act like humans.
So just to really pin that down, you're okay with farming and slaughtering mentally disabled humans so long as that they're below below some sufficient threshold. Is that correct?
Yeah, bro. But I that's what animals are essentially. Where if you in this hypothetical situation where there's humans, we feel bad about it. But
yeah, I mean, I agree. I think animals are essentially just mentally stunted humans. And why would you want to eat mentally stunted humans? That seems quite absurd to me.
Yeah. I mean, you got to ask the question of how these mentally stunted humans would be existing otherwise, in the world. If they were just in nature. How would they be suffering, or how would they be how would they come to die? Would they be hunted by other animals, or?
Well, we're talking about farming, right? So we're not just talking about existing in nature, right? We're talking about being artificially inseminated, aka rape. Obviously, that's a harsh word, but
I think that's bad.
It's true.
I think that's bad. I just think there's ways that you
right,
can...
but you do support it being done to animals whenever you purchase their products, correct?
If you purchase products that rely on doing anything like that, then yes, you do support it. And so I think anyone who wants to live an ethical life and live according to their own ethics, to ethics that uphold that standard, they shouldn't do that. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, if your definition of veganism is that you do not consume any animal products that are the result of unethical animal treatment, then I would be a vegan. My whole point is that I think there are still ways to consume animal products.
So are you saying you don't consume animal products that you consider? So are you saying you don't consume animal products that come from unethical origins?
I do, but I'm a hypocrite. I'm just arguing against veganism as a concept, not for what I personally do, which is
Yeah,
it's a shame.
I'd probably
I'm evil. I'm evil, unfortunately.
I'd probably draw a distinction between like veganism and a plant-based diet. So I'd consider like a plant-based diet to be like a diet completely devoid of animal products, whereas I'd consider veganism to be like, I can give you the long-winded definition, which is like an applied ethical position that advocates for trade equalized human rights being applied to non-human sentient beings. So it wouldn't even matter if they're animals. Like I wouldn't eat Groot. I think it would be like, Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He's a plant, not a human.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider it okay to factory farm Groot.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't factory that. No way, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I think like if you're happy to admit that you're being a hypocrite, what do you think is actually stopping you from making that change?
I'm lazy. I'm lazy and a procrastinator, mostly. I mean, I would. My girlfriend is vegan, so I do try my best. Well, I guess I don't try my best. But ideally, I would like to be more ethical in the animal products I consume.
Have you seen what happens to animals?
Yeah. I've seen the
Yeah.
videos, bro.
Have you seen the documentary Dominion? Maybe. Yeah. And so then, like, I guess the psychology is interesting to me because when you see something like so horrible being done, and you know that you financially support it, why not change?
Yeah, you're right. I should change. Yeah.
But why do you think you haven't?
I guess there's sort of an alienation from the food that we eat, like that is so like normalized, like nobody sees how the meat that they eat comes about. It just appears there as these sort of, not even as like body parts or anything. People don't even think of meat as parts of a living thing. It's just like a substance. So I think that's a big reason. And, just culturally, people grow up consuming meat without having seen where it comes from.
Yeah, it's so easy to distance yourself from that product, right? Because you just see something that looks like tasty food, and then it's hard to really link the two together.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
I think you're right, man. Like, you've convinced me. You reminded me that I'm a hypocrite, and I should do better, honestly.
Yeah, well, do you think like there's anything stopping you next time you need to order food, making the vegan option? Next time you need to cook food, looking up a vegan recipe of whatever you'd make?
No.
Let me ask you a couple questions, right? Because you've obviously been very gracious, with your time, listening to me. Let me just ask you a couple questions. What do you think it would cost you if you didn't change your habits?
I mean, I don't think it would cost me anything. Like, the only toll would be on my spiritual conception of myself, and whether I'm an ethical person. And I guess you could say there are like other health things and whatnot, but I think the main barrier is just not.
You're probably aware that you can be healthy as a vegan, right?
Yeah. I think the main thing is just not how seriously you take putting your ethics in action. Like, I think for most people, including myself, it's so easy. Like, we live in a world where it's very easy, like, to live an unethical life, and that's just kind of the trap we fall into because of convenience. But yeah, ideally, I would like to stop doing that. And so
Yeah, well, that's why I ask you like a question like this, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we have to actually consider like what is the bad part about failing to change.
Yeah. Well, the bad part about failing to change is that we're perpetuating massive suffering on a humongous scale.
And then what do you think the benefit
we're
would be?
Participating in that suffering by consuming animal products. So,
And then what do you think the benefit would be to yourself if you did change and you actually decided, no, I'm not going to support this like disgusting practice. I'm actually going to take a stand and,
well, I guess just moral coherency for yourself is the main thing.
yeah. Well, does that sound like something you want?
That is something I want. So,
Well,
I'm gonna change, bro. I'm gonna do it.
All right, I think you know the path to get there.
Yeah.
I believe that you can change. It might take a few goes, but just like anything, we can do it. We can quit smoking. We can lose weight. We can start exercising. We can get off the animal products and go vegan.
I think I'm just procrastinating, honestly. So I'm gonna do it, man. I don't know. This was an interesting conversation.
Thanks for speaking to me.
Thank you.
What was your name again?
Charlie.
Charlie.
What was your name?
Ethan.
Okay. Thank you, Ethan.
Good speaking with you.
That was good. I'm gonna do it.
Have a good one. You got a brownie, right?
I did.
All right. Have a good one.